You know, for me, that was the line of the night. That was the first debate. Lindsey Graham, the clear runaway winner, but at least judged by people who tweet and react and judge these things in a busy night of great one-liners and zingers and all. But you got the ball rolling, Senator. Good to have you. You talked of the time, you know, both sides have to talk to each other, negotiate, try to get things done. That is not the environment right now. How would you
I think they call it marriage.
Yeah. How would you change things?
Just by being me. I've got a good relationship with all of my colleagues. I mean, getting the Congress to work together is an effort. And here's the secret in town, not very well kept. Democrats don't like Obama much either. He's a very distant guy. He's not a bad man, but he doesn't interact at all. I'd be bringing people down to the White House. Bring your kids, bring your grandkids. We're going to have dinner. We'll have a drink. We'll watch a ball game. Let's get to know each other. That's exactly, you know, Michael Reagan came up after the debate and said that's exactly what my dad did. He sat down with Tip O'Neill and others, and they found a way to get to know each other. It's not that hard. My dad ran a bar. It's good training to be president. Yeah,
speaking of a bar and that drinking analogy, there were stories that were legion at the time that Reagan and Tip O'Neill would come staggering out of their private residence and craft a deal. We don't know if that was exactly true. But, you know, you also kept staying on message when it came to the overriding issue of our time, international security. And to that very point, less than about 14 hours later, Senator, we're getting word of an arrest of a New York man in New York on charges of providing material support to ISIS. That's all we know thus far. But you've heard these stories again and again. You have mentioned, as you did last night, that is an overriding concern of yours, but it doesn't get as much play. What do you make of that?
Well, I just think the president doesn't. He minimizes the threats and he oversells our successes. It's pretty hard to break through when your commander-in-chief, you know, basically won't level the American people. You know, this program to train the Free Syrian Army, we heard yesterday there are 5 guys left of the 54 we trained. And it's just a matter of time till we get hit here again. ISIL is large, they're rich, they're entrenched, they're drawing supporters all over the world because they thought of as winners. If I'm president, we're going to get a regional army up in Syria. We're going to add more combat troops in Iraq, and we're going after these guys. And you know, we're going to do damage to them. We're going to make them small, poor, and on the run. There's no other way to do it.
You know, a lot of your debate colleagues, both in your debate, Senator, and in the follow-up debate, they weren't too keen on doing something to that degree. And I don't know if they're reading the political tea leaves or just afraid to recommit troops to a region, or there is this war fatigue that's built on. Do you think that is a losing issue for you?
No, not at all. I think what I'm trying to do is explain the threat. We can't win this conflict against ISIL from the air. There are no ground forces left to train in Syria. That's pretty obvious now that our effort to train the Free Syrian Army was 3 years ago. The window's closed, so now we've got to get a regional army. The good news is we'll be about 10%. And the really good news is that the troops I'm talking about is a fraction of what we had in the past. But what's going on the ground in Iraq's not working. We need about 10,000 U.S. forces, not 3,500, a regional army to go into Syria. If you don't get Syria right, you never fix Iraq. And if Syria goes for another year, I worry about Lebanon and Jordan. So doing nothing is a choice. And I would choose to strike at ISIL in the heart of the caliphate inside of Syria with a regional army. That's what I would do as your president to keep them from hitting us here.
I don't know if I understood the one comment you made, I think, about Donald Trump. His approach on these kind of issues was cartoonish. Explain what you meant by that.
Well, you know, Popeye foreign policy. I'm going to eat spinach and we're going to beat you up. The ground forces that we need don't exist in Syria, so we have to build a regional force. The Kurds are not an expeditionary force. They're not going to go into Syria and destroy ISIL. You'd start a war with Turkey. So what Donald Trump does says things like, we're going to Iraq and Syria, invade the countries, take their oil, and pay our wounded warriors with the proceeds. That turns everybody in the Mideast against us and helps ISIL. So that's sort of a cartoon approach. We have got to understand the dynamics on the ground. There's nobody left to work with in Syria. You got to create an army outside. And here's the good news. The Arabs, they want to get rid of ISIL too. They're a threat to their way of life. And Assad's a puppet of Iran, so he's got to go to fix Syria.
Then what did you think of Rand Paul saying it's their fight, it's their war, let those guys fight it?
Well, all I can say, that's the biggest difference between me and Senator Paul. Radical Islam has 3 goals in mind: to purify their religion, destroy the state of Israel, and to attack us. The head of ISIL was in Camp Bucca, a military prison camp where I did my reserve duty for 4 years. When we released him to the Iraqis, he told the colonel, "I will see you in New York." They're trying to attack us. It's just not Syria's war. It's not Iraq's war. They're coming to get us, too. This kind of attitude is their problem, is what led to 9/11. Now, I'll be damned if we're going to have another 9/11 if I'm president. We'll do everything we can to hit them over there before they come here.
Real quickly, the Federal Reserve, everyone's waiting to see if it goes ahead and hikes interest rates.
Yeah.
Something we've not seen in almost a decade.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's eventually got to happen. I mean, inflation's going to hit one of these days, and it makes servicing the debt more expensive. But we're living basically in a odd era of where, you know, interest rates are so low for so long it can't last. They're going to have to increase interest rates, or you're going to have inflation one day.
Senator, thank you very much. Very entertaining last night. Enjoyed it. Continued success. Good seeing you.